well, hello, Carriad. How lovely to see you. I wasn't expecting you to call in today. Come on then, sit down now. How was school? Did you have a good day? Oh, that's great. Oh, it was really nice of you to call. Look, I was just having a look at these old books here this afternoon. You know, these belong to my grandmother. And, well, this one would probably make a lot more sense to you than it does to me, because it's all in Welsh. And, you know, I don't speak very much Welsh, but I know you're learning it at school, aren't you? That's fantastic. And by the time you leave, I expect you'll be fluent. I don't speak very much of it at all, I'm ashamed to say. Tipyn bach, as they say, just a little, you know. You see, the problem was, although my grandmother and all her brothers and sisters spoke it at home with their mum and dad, do you know, a dreadful thing happened when they went to school. They were literally thrashed for speaking Welsh. Anyway, this one is the story of Mary Jones. Do you know that story? Well, you know, she was a young girl, just, well, not very different in age to you. I think you're a little bit younger than she was when we hear about this story. I think she was about 15 or 16. And she came from a really poor family. You know, they lived up in North Wales, just at the foot of Cadair Idris. And it was a completely Welsh-speaking family. They were very, very poor, and the thing that they wanted most was their own Bible in the Welsh language, and they didn't have one. And you know, Mary really took this on board, and she saved up her money for 6 whole years until she had enough money to go and buy one. But it was a long way from where she lived to go and find the minister who held the Welsh Bibles. Anyway, one day she set off, and the story goes, you know, that she walked across the mountains, barefoot actually, and it was a long way, probably about 25, 26 miles, until she got to the minister's house. And of course he invited her in, but she was distraught to discover that he didn't actually have any Bibles that he could let her have, because they were so scarce that people used to book a copy well in advance. And of course Mary hadn't had one reserved for her or for her family. And she was so upset that the minister thought, well, got to do something about this. So he decided that he would give her one of the copies that had actually been reserved for someone else. So Mary went home rejoicing that she was able to have this copy of the Bible in her own language. And of course her family were overjoyed. Do you know, the minister himself was so impressed that she'd walked all that way in order to get a copy of the Bible, that he thought to himself, I've got to do something about this and try to make sure that Bibles in the Welsh language are more freely available to people. And so he talked to some very important sort of people, and eventually that led to the setting up of the Bible Society, you know. And that meant that the Welsh Bibles became much more accessible to people. Anyway, there's the story. Why don't you borrow that? You would take it home with you. Just borrow it for a while and read it for yourself. I must let you go now because your mum will have your tea ready. Anyway, it was lovely to see you. Thank you so much for popping in. See you again soon then, Cariad. Bye-bye. Bye now.
When you think of the country of Wales, what comes to mind? Is it the 641 castles, including the one in Caerphilly, which outleans the one in Pisa? Maybe it's the 3 national parks, or the beautiful, stunning beaches, or maybe the 750-mile coastline. Or is it the fact that the letters K, Q, V and Z do not appear in the Welsh language? This might be it for you, but for me, it was a story of a young girl who captivated the hearts of the religious people in Wales. Her name was Mary Jones, and this is her story. So come with me as we take her journey. Although Mary Jones lived over 200 years ago, her legacy still lives on. I'm off to Clonical in Bala, North Wales, to learn more about the life and journey of Mary Jones. So finally, I've made it to Clonical in Bala. After 3.5 hours journey and 80 miles, I finally made it. And I'm joined here with Mary Thomas, who was the designer of the Mary Jones Walk. She's here with me to give me a bit more of an insight into the life and mission of Mary Jones. So welcome, Mary Thomas.
Thank you.
Could you just tell me what inspired you to put this booklet together, and what information can we find in this booklet?
Of course, I've known of Mary Jones since I was about 3 or 4 years old.
Okay.
I was born in a tiny village, and in that village, I haven't travelled very far from this area. Mm. It's the area of Meirionnydd.
Yes.
And in this little village, there was a chapel and a tiny graveyard with just ordinary tombstones, but there was one tall tombstone there. Mm-hmm. And I asked my father, why is there one tall tombstone? And he said, that's the tombstone of Lewis Williams. Mm. And I said, who is he then? Or he was the man who taught Mary Jones to read. Okay. And I said, well, what is Mary Jones? Where is she? And he went and he told me the story. Mm. And he said, one day we'll go and see her place. And we did, of course. And in 1998, Reverend Bryn Williams told me, well, the millennium's coming up in 2 years' time. In 2 years' time, it'll be 200 years since Mary Jones walked the walk. Okay. So what about planning this route?
Okay, wow.
And I thought, yes, okay, but you know, I was quite busy, and I thought, well, and I said, yes, okay. So I got an OS map together, and I started walking, and I talked to people, and you know, because local people know more about things than anybody, especially the farmers. Mm-hmm. As you can see from the book, it's separated into 5 sections. Okay. 5 sections of about 5 miles each. So the 5 miles, it is, you know, quite possible for most people to do 5 miles. So it is possible to do it. Yes. In your own time.
Yes, of course. So I'm now here with Mary at
Llyn Tegid.
Llyn Tegid. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Now, tell us the history about this lake, and has Mary Jones got anything to do with this lake at all?
Llyn Tegid is the largest natural lake in Wales. Okay. She had very little to do with it. Yes. She passed it. She must have passed it on the way to Bala. Okay. There is no way she could have come to Bala without passing it. Okay. She passed 2 lakes on the way. She passed Llyn Mwyngyl, which is down in Talallyn. Okay. She would have known about that lake very well, and she passed this lake, Llyn Tegid. The path is right up over there in the hills. Okay. She would have come over there and down at the head of the lake, and she could have stopped at the end of the lake and looked down, and she could have seen Cadair Idris in front of her and would have known that her home was just over Cadair Idris.
So what was the lifestyle of Mary Jones? We understand from reading the book that she was a poor girl, but I think there's a lot of emphasis on how poor she really was.
Mary Jones was extremely poor. Okay. Her mother was a widower. Okay. She was a widow when Mary was 4 years old. Okay. Her father died of TB, so that affected their livelihood a great deal. Yeah. There was no help in those days. Her mum had to raise her by herself. It is said in some of the little books, you see her father waving her off when she came to Bala.
Yeah.
But you know, he was been dead for years and years.
Wow.
Lots of little fantasies have grown around the story.
Yes.
Especially, I think, during the Victorian times, the story was sort of made more flowery than actually what it is.
Because I take it there are some sad elements to the story as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Because, you know, she walked, it's a really tough walk.
Yes.
It's tough country. And to think that she was so determined to do this. And of course, the walking wasn't especially so to her because she walked everywhere anyway.
Yeah, living in the mountains,
yes,
you would.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And in Bala, Thomas Charles was married to Sally Jones, who had a shop in Bala.
Okay.
And he lived there with Sally Jones in the shop, which is by now Barclays Bank.
Ah, I see.
And that's where she walked to, was to Barclays Bank.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, if you go into Barclays Bank, there's a safe there, an old safe there, where Thomas Charles kept the Bibles and where he kept the money after he sold the Bibles.
Okay. So Thomas Charles, he is a key figure in this story because he's the one that
course.
had possession of the Bibles,
Of course.
which was handed to Mary Jones.
Yes.
And he's buried here.
He's buried here.
Could you
Yes.
show us?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so here we are at Thomas Charles' gravesite. It's obviously, as you can see, it's encaged in this cage here for protection, I take it, because this is a very important burial site. And Mary Thomas is just going to tell me a little bit more about Thomas Charles himself.
Thomas Charles, he was a South Walian, but he came up to North Wales because of Sally Jones.
Okay.
He was going to marry Sally Jones, so he came up here.
Would do anything for love.
Quite. And I think she was quite a prosperous lady, being a business lady, and she supported him all his life, really, both spiritually and materially.
Yes.
So he was able to do a lot of good work, which maybe without her support he wouldn't have been able to do. And he established circular schools, Sunday schools, in different areas. These circular schools were for adults and children. And he established one school in a village. Then after about 6 months, he'd go and visit and he'd find one sort of brilliant person amongst them. And then he'd appoint that person to be the teacher.
Okay.
And then he'd move the school on to another village.
Okay.
And that's how it worked.
Okay.
And very soon, there were hundreds of people who were able to read.
Okay. Wow.
And of course, what they wanted to read were the scriptures.
Yes, yes.
But the scriptures, they were so rare,
Okay.
they weren't to be had. It was only available in a church,
Okay.
chained up in a church, or maybe in a mansion or somewhere, maybe people would have one. And in Mary Jones's village, there was one person who had a Bible in the parlour, and she was able to go there and read the Bible. After Mary Jones walked to Bala, he was really impressed, and he decided to do something about it. So he was quite a well-known person, and he went to London.
So he used his influence.
He used it, yes, quite, yes. And he went to London and he met up with William Wilberforce and Joseph Hughes and different people.
Yes.
And he said, well, we must have a Bible for Wales. And Joseph Hughes was the person who said, if for Wales, why not for the kingdom?
Yes.
If for the kingdom, why not for the world? And that is how our phrase has come about, Bible I bawb o bobl y byd, a Bible for everyone throughout the world. We're now inside the church of St Beno in Llanacil, which was the parish church of this area. Before Christ Church was built in Bala, then that became the church in Bala, and this was a church on the outskirts. In 2006, it was closed down, and a group of friends of Llanacil came together with the view of purchasing the church just to keep it as a building, and I'm so glad that all of this has come about.
Yes.
And the story of Mary Jones and Thomas Charles and their forward thinking is all here.
So I can see that it has some of the latest technology in here as well, helping the young children actually learn about the story.
Yes. You said that there are videos and different things that people can see, and it shows the path and everything, but nothing at all will give me as much pleasure as actually walking the path. But I know that's not possible for everybody. Yes. I know everybody hasn't got the time or haven't got the inclination to do such a thing. So I'm so glad that the path is brought here to them.
Yes.
And the story and the background and the determination that went into everything here, right from the time of Mary Jones and Thomas Charles and through history.
You know, I find it very important that stories and true stories, may I emphasize, true stories actually live on. And, you know, the path being there, this church being here, and the story of Mary Jones being taught to our children and our grandchildren, it's very important. Mary Thomas, I'm grateful for your effort and your help in bringing this story together. Thank you very much. I'm here in the town of Bala, outside Thomas Charles' residence, now Barclays Bank. It was here that Mary Jones completed her journey, coming to collect the Bible she so longed for. This residence, Thomas Charles' home, she met him, and there in the room the Bibles lay. Unfortunately, all the Bibles that Thomas Charles had were spoken for, and to Mary Jones' dismay, she may be going home without a Bible of her own. But no, because of the faith of this young girl, Thomas Charles' heart was touched, and Mary Jones returned home with a Bible of her own in the Welsh language. A simple placard stands dedicated to Mary Jones, and it reads, Mary Jones, walk to Bala, end of journey. Her 6 long years of saving had finally come to its end, and Mary Jones, I'm sure, was celebrating at this point because she got a Bible in her own tongue.
My journey continued, taking me to Cambridge University Library to view the most precious book to Mary Jones, her Bible in the Welsh language.
So we're here at Cambridge University Library with Dr. Ngundu, and I've been privileged to have access to the original copy of Mary Jones' Bible. Dr. Ngundu, tell me, how did Mary Jones' Bible happen to come to be here in Cambridge University Library?
As you are aware that it was the Mary Jones Bible which gave the inspiration to the beginning of the British and Foreign Bible Society. As a result, when it was deposited in the British and Foreign Bible Society office in London, in 1984, they decided to move out of London to Swindon. So the Bible Society as an organization approached both Cambridge and Oxford universities to see who could house their collection. Oxford had only one room. And Cambridge had more than one room. So the collection ended up here in 1985.
Okay. Now I can see that it's a very old copy. But not only Mary Jones' Bible is placed here, but there are other special artifacts here as well, other Bibles. Could you just tell us a little bit about that as well?
We have a collection of Bibles in almost 3,000 different languages. And when you think about it, there are about 7,000 spoken languages. So we are really talking about more than 4,000 languages today.
Yes.
We have not even a portion of scripture in their mother tongue.
Wow. Okay.
So we are really privileged that all the translation which has been done so far in the whole world, the copies are here.
Yes. Yes.
So we have the largest collection of Chinese Bibles in the world, and we have the largest collection of English Bibles in the world, and we have some of the first printed copies of the scriptures, and they are all deposited here.
Wow. So there's God's blessings beyond this this place here to take care
That is true.
of these things. Okay. So Mary Jones' Bible is, unfortunately, we can obviously see that it's fallen apart ever so slightly, and I can understand what's happened is we've put the original backing inside this plastic covering to protect it, and it's just got here to keep the Bible bound.
Yeah.
And as we can actually see on the Bible, the inscription of Mary Jones' name, and also information on the date she received it and who she received it by, which was Thomas Charles himself. So, Dr. Ngundu, thank you very much for giving us this privilege.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege, and this Bible, many people come to the University of Cambridge just to look at it and to touch it.
Yes.
They know about the story,
Yes.
but they would like also to see the copy itself.
Yes.
And many a time I receive many guests
Yes.
who come just to look at it.
Okay.
And she was an inspiration
Yes.
to the beginning of the Bible Society. If Mary Jones, as a young 16-year-old, could transform the rest of the world
Yes.
by giving scripture to each of the spoken languages, any one of us can do our part
Yes, absolutely.
to be used of God
Absolutely.
to touch lives.
And I believe, as a young man myself, that's inspiration to me.
That's true.
And I hope that I can live out a true Christian life,
Yeah,
as Mary Jones showed her devotion, walking so far
That's
just
true.
to get God's word.
that is so true. I think for all of us it is an inspiration. Little did she know that the collection will be her legacy.
Absolutely.
And no one knows what our legacies will be,
No.
but we will leave footprints
Yes.
for some people to follow.
Let's pray that we leave the right footprints.
That's lovely. Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The beauty and tranquility of the location. I'm here in Fandango, the place where Mary Jones was born. And standing outside a ruined cottage, once her home, the beauty is overwhelming. But there's a bit more to this journey. You see, Mary Jones walked from here to Bala to get a Bible in her own tongue. So I've decided, with the help of a Mr. Lee Cranch, to aid me on this journey. And together, we will try and follow in Mary Jones' footsteps. The 25 miles she walked, for us it will be 28 miles. Following her footsteps and experiencing the trials and the joys of her journey. This is Lee Cranch, ex-Marines soldier, and he's basically going to be attending me, and we're just trying to read the map to locate exactly how to start our journey.
So we've come down from
Oh yeah.
the starting point.
Okay, yes, it says the church should be on this way.
Yeah. Church shown to be on the right, but here it's on the left. So we've got to orientate the map to make sure we are in the right place,
Yeah.
and that's important. If we get that bit wrong, we start off to walk wrong.
There we are again. We've just passed a beautiful waterfall, and you see that down there. The view is it's breathtaking. I mean, to think that a young 16-year-old would do this walk, and obviously it wasn't the first time for her. She's obviously would have studied this route, oops, and taken it on several occasions, different projects, different jobs, different places she had to go. And if she wanted to go anywhere, of course, Bala being the main town, she would have come this way. For me, 27-year-old, I probably could only do this maybe twice a year. More training. Wow.
That's the two stones in front of us.
So according to the map, this is a landmark for us.
The river, Mount Era, to our right, and we're still continuing on this well-marked footpath along, and that takes us to our next grid reference. At the farm track, turn right and cross the Star. Follow the well-defined path. You're heading for Mount Era, the ruin of a cottage which you will see in the distance at the foot of the hill and slightly to your left.
Now along this walk, we were told that there's a ruined house, and here we see it now. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tree growing out of it. It was built of slates all the way around, and inside there was a bread oven, a reminder of life long ago. This is just your surroundings.
This is the life.
This is your surroundings. You know, we understand that Mary Jones was a very poor girl, but to me, she was rich in the beauty of her surroundings.
I could be a shepherd, you think? I think.
Huh?
I could be a shepherd. And look at that. That is amazing. The shadow coming up that mountain.
You see the ragged rocks over there?
Yeah.
Coming down.
Yeah. I could sit there and look at that all day. I could look at that all day and just say, wow. It's going to take us a while, this walk, you know, because we're appreciating it so much. I don't care. I don't mind if it does. I do have a slight suspicion that maybe later on in the walk it won't be as good as this.
Yeah.
We start off on the highlights, and that later on it's not as good. But I have to say, we finish at Lake Bala, and that's a beautiful lake,
yes.
and that's going to be lovely to walk along there, isn't
Yes.
it? Knowing that we're homeward bound in about 9 hours' time.
9 hours. So we've been going for. No,
We've been walking for an hour.
an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've just now come to the end of the forestry. We've just hit a road, so we realise we've probably turned off slightly later. So we're just going back up the track to continue in the forestry. Okay guys, so we're slightly lost. We've just come through some woodlands and we've missed a turn in. So we're having to walk through the woodlands a bit more until we can see some light and a clearing.
So here on the forestry tracks,
So we've just come from down there.
there's a small intrusion of beech trees.
And we should have come from down there.
Again, you will know you are nearing the top of the hill when more light breaks through the trees. Again, ignore the forestry track. At the cattle grid, with a dogs on lead sign, the track becomes a public right of way. The track continues over the brow of the hill at which point you'll be able to enjoy the magnificent views of Tunnelin Lake below, with Tinnacornell Hotel to the right. There we are. Okay, so
Wow.
we're back on track. Directions will continue.
Okay guys, we've just now finally finished the first section of the walk, and we've managed to come to the nature reserve of Cadrelitis. So we've been walking for about 3 hours now.
3 hours,
We've done
yeah.
about 5 miles, would you say?
5.25 miles.
5.25 miles, so, you know.
Slow progress, but you've been enjoying the scenery.
Yes,
3
we
hours,
have.
12 minutes.
So, yeah, we're not too tired, another 23 miles to go, but we'll see if we can do it. The experience that was gained on the Mary Jones walk was challenging, both physically and mentally. The walk wasn't completed. We did everything we could, but maybe our bodies just wasn't up to it. When I look back and imagine the training that Mary Jones would have gone through, not just training to walk outdoors, just strenuous walking up and down the mountains. The average man nowadays is not geared up for that. And it goes to show that health, fitness, and the desire to achieve something go hand in hand. Mary Jones completed that walk because she had a goal in mind. She desired to get a Bible in the Welsh language. In my local newspaper, the Carmarthen Journal, I was amazed to see an article. Appeal goes out for bilingual Bibles. We can see here that the effect didn't just stop with Mary Jones, it echoed.
The church in Wales is a bilingual church, and that means that people whose first language is Welsh really ought to be able to read the Bible in Welsh and hear it read in Welsh. Now that poses us with a bit of a problem because the church in Wales is part of the Anglican Communion, and it's a fundamental principle of Anglicanism that everybody should be able to understand what's going on. Well, we've squared that particular circle in the Crimmick group of churches by buying these bilingual New Testaments. They're fantastic things. They've got the Welsh down the left-hand side like that of each page and the English down the right-hand side. So that if your Welsh is, shall we say, just a little bit dodgy, then you can actually look across quickly to the other column and see what's being said. It's a bit ironic, I suppose, that it took Mary Jones 6 years or something, didn't it, to get her Welsh Bible, whereas you don't have to take 6 years or actually travel 25 miles to get your Welsh Bible nowadays. Just go into a church near you and there's one waiting for you.
My journey has now come to its end, and I've learnt about an incredible young girl, an incredible young Welsh girl, who changed the world for the better. The next time you come into contact with a Bible, remember, Baubili Ibao Ibobo Ibib, a Bible for everyone throughout the world.